Well, the funding bill provides a fraction of what President Trump wanted. The White House says declaring a national emergency would enable the president to transfer funding from other accounts to build additional miles of border wall. Tonight, Republican lawmakers from our state are saying they do not agree with using emergency powers to make it happen. The bipartisan compromise includes a deal for a wall along the southwestern border. It offers less than $1.4 billion that would fund 55 miles of border fencing, not a concrete wall like the president wanted. And it's far less than the $5.7 billion the president first demanded. But today, Senator Mitch McConnell said this.
I've just had an opportunity to speak with President Trump, and I would say to all my colleagues, has indicated he's prepared to sign the bill. He will also be issuing a national emergency declaration at the same time.
The President of the United States has the absolute authority under the Constitution and by statute to declare a national emergency.
Vice President Mike Pence tells NBC the president can reposition resources to address that, but Democrats say it's dangerous.
So the precedent that the president is setting here is something that should be met with great unease and dismay by the Republicans.
Two of the Republicans from Washington state who were speaking out share the president's concerns about securing the border. But Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler says an emergency declaration would set a dangerous precedent. Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers says it undermines our constitutional separation of powers. And President Trump is opening the door for any future president to act alone without congressional approval. Also tonight, Governor Jay Inslee calls the president's declaration alarming and legally dubious. Washington's Attorney General Bob Ferguson says if declaring a national emergency depletes federal funds flowing to Washington and the state is harmed, his office is prepared to take steps to block it. Tonight, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says the White House is prepared for possible legal challenges. Live in the newsroom, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.